Welcome back to Healthy, Happy, Wise, Wealthy. I have with us today Mike DeJong. He has owned a bunch of businesses, franchises, and he has written a book that is free on his website called Grow Smart: Your Path to Freedom, Mastering Transformation from Operator to Owner. I had to read it. And Mike, we have a podcast sponsor right now. I'm so excited about it. I actually owned an online store prior to some of the things I'm doing now. And they were one of the people that I worked with a lot. So Mindy, Mindii, an IT company. They're based in India. They make great websites, apps for people, cloud services, all this kind of thing for business owners that we need, and nonprofits. So
we do need that.
I'm so excited to have them on. So you have, tell us a little bit about, like, your history is in owning franchises and businesses. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. My history actually starts back as a commercial pilot.
Oh, wow.
And then I did that because I had a 7th grade teacher that told me you'd never get a job looking out the window. I proved him wrong because that's what you do as a pilot.
Yeah, you do.
And then I went and got an engineering degree and worked in corporate America for a while and had a bunch of, now I call them jobbies, businesses that I did, maybe people call them side hustles.
Okay.
Before about 12, 13 years ago now, I got into a real, what people would call a real business, I think, and started making all of the good decisions and all of the bad decisions that we all do. And that's why I decided I needed to, with prodding from a lot of friends and family and coworkers, to write a book on all those issues so that we could help people to not make the same mistakes, right? How we could grow smarter without making all the expensive mistakes.
Yeah. And do you, Nothing But Cakes was a franchise that you have?
That's right. That's right. I've built out 4 of them and bought a few more that I've turned around from low performing stores to high performing stores. I still have one out in Kirkland, Washington, home of Costco, just outside of Seattle.
Oh, nice.
And planning to build a couple more out there.
That's great. That's great. So, okay. So you wrote this book because when you were, working as the owner of Nothing But Cakes, you realized you had bought a job and not a business. Is that the essence of the book?
That is absolutely the essence of the book, right? The epiphany moment was on a vacation that I just kind of realized, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not actually on vacation. I am on the phone and on the computer.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm enjoying myself.
And I've worked with several franchise owners, and some of the work that I've done, just helping with marketing and that kind of thing. So it certainly is like it does become your life. So what is the transition? Like, how did you find your way into a space where it wasn't owning you, I guess to say?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. It was an evolution over time.
Okay.
But it started with something that I knew as an engineer, but I hated as a business owner. And that was building systems. I hated, when I worked in corporate America, the meetings and the processes it just drove me insane because they seemed to be a waste of time. Let's just go do stuff. And then I came to realize as a business operator, because I wasn't an owner yet, that if people don't have a process or a system, they can't effectively execute on your mission or your dream, or we can't all, you've heard row in the same direction. So I started putting those in place one at a time. I stopped answering the phone when people called me. I found out if you don't answer the phone right away, maybe 10, 15 minutes later or an hour later, they figured it out. Okay. So I guess I should say I empowered them to come up with their own solutions.
And this is your team? This is your team, like at the store and stuff?
This is my team at the stores at the time. Okay. Yeah, I had a couple at the time when I made this realization. And then I just started stress testing it. So I get enough things in place where I'm like, all right, now I'm an owner. I'm not an operator anymore. I'm not in here every day. I am an owner. And I'd go on another vacation and I figure out what broke. And then whatever broke, when I come back, I'd fix that, put a process in place. And it got to the point where it wasn't me putting the processes in place anymore. It wasn't my team.
Gotcha.
I stopped asking the question, which I think a lot of us ask, is or statements a lot of us make is, I can't find anyone to do things as good as I can, as well as I can, as fast as I can, etc. And I started asking two different questions, really. It's, how could I find someone to do it better than I can? Which really changed my thinking when I actually applied it, didn't just say it. And I started changing my mindset around, if I could find someone that'll do it 80% as well, or can do 80% of it, how can I fill in that last 20% so I'm not doing the whole thing? And those two switches really made the difference between going from an operator to an owner. That is some mindset stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So find someone who can do it better than you can do it, and then find someone who can do it at least 80%.
Right.
As well
Dan
as you. And
Martell, I
then,
read in his book, Buy Back Time. I think I read that last year. He says 80% done is 100% effing awesome. And I read that. I'm like, oh man, I've been doing that for years. That's brilliant, Dan. Good expression.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So just finding those things. So what are some of the things you do to empower the team to make the decisions? Because what you're saying is, I want a team that can make the decisions, so I'm not the decision maker, is what I'm hearing.
That's right.
Okay.
So it started with them having to believe that I believe they could do it. And we all grow up pointing at our brother, our sister, our friend, anyone, like, not me. It's not me. I didn't make that mistake. It's not me. It's not me. And I think we carry that into our business life, and people are afraid to, like, they don't want to do things because they're afraid of making a mistake. They're afraid of getting in trouble. And I told everyone, like, yeah, unless you're malicious, I'm not going to get after you for a decision you make, even if it's a bad one. We'll break those down and figure out how we could do it better collectively, what tools I didn't give you, a better decision-making process for whatever that decision happened to be. And we'll move on and we'll both learn from it. And at first people didn't want to make decisions. They kept like, I think it's this or this or this or this or this. Like, well, which one would you do? Great, let's do that. Even though I might be thinking that's not the one I would do, as long as it wouldn't do total damage, I'm like, let's do that. Because you want to empower them and not always go, no, that's the wrong one. You should do this other thing over here. And honestly, Mary, more times than not, I was surprised that their method was actually better than the result I was looking for. Their idea was a better idea, and we got a much better result. And it turns out I'm not as good at things as I thought I was, and my team was. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great, though.
You just had to trust them, and they had to trust you that you believed in them, and you weren't going to tear their heads off for making a decision. Some of them very expensive decisions, but it's a process.
Yeah. Well, and I think, there's a whole world of employees that are looking for a boss and leader who will empower them and let them make decisions like that. So I feel like that's, stuff like that is talked about on podcasts, but I don't know that is very well implemented in the world in general.
No, I agree with you. I see it in the people I'm coaching. They have a hard time letting go. Because of the reasons we talked about a few minutes ago. No one could do it better than me. No one could do it as fast as me, etc.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's because you got all this information in your head. You know all the stuff. So,
right.
And anyone you hire isn't going to have all that stuff in your brain that you know.
No.
So,
but what a lot of us fail to understand is they have different stuff that could be complementary. I like to tell people about the 3 basic types of business leaders, figure out which one you are, and then don't keep hiring you, hire the other people. We all say, don't hire people like ourselves. Well, that's easy to say, but what's the process around that? And the 3 types are, if you care to hear about them.
No, I was going to say, please go. I'm very curious. The 3 types. What are the 3 types?
And people call them different things, but we have the artist, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And everyone could be entrepreneurial, but maybe not an entrepreneur. So, you want to define the artist. That's someone that loves their craft. Let's take the bakery example. I've been doing nothing bundt cakes for a while. It's the people that love baking and frosting the cakes, that love talking to the customers, that love the process around the artistry around making the cake. It could be the artistry around making a podcast, or the artistry around making a sandwich, or whatever your business is. Then you have the manager leader. That's your person who likes the processes and the policies and the procedures and figuring out the most efficient way and the most effective way to get things done. And maybe they love Excel and spreadsheets and figuring that stuff out. And then you got the entrepreneur, and that's the person that's like, all right, where are we going to go find the money? This is our next process. This is our next place we're going. We're going to go over here. We're going to do this. We're going to do all this broad stroke stuff. And an analogy, I mean, it's March Madness, but this is more of an NBA
Yeah.
analogy. You know, your player, your basketball player out on the court would be your artist. Your manager leader would be the coach.
Okay.
And your entrepreneur would be the team owner.
Okay.
And the team owner or the coach suck at playing basketball at the NBA level. They're not going to go out there and make points from the 3-point line, etc. Your artist, your basketball player, probably doesn't have a great idea on how to manage an entire basketball franchise. Or maybe not a lot of artists become coaches. Like your best NBA players don't go become your best NBA coaches, because coaching is a different skill set. So if you could figure out which one of those you are, and then hire for the people around you that you're not, you could really explode your business.
That's a really good example. How does that, like, I love the basketball example because it makes it really easy to understand. And I'm a little bit trying to go, okay, so if you're a business owner, which one probably are you, do you think? Can you be any of those?
Absolutely
Maybe?
any of them.
Okay.
Absolutely any of them. And you see all of them. And for me, like I used to think I'm a manager leader. I'm a manager leader. And when I was really honest with myself and I had someone else interview me, I realized I was actually an entrepreneur. I like going and finding the opportunities. I like making the bigger moves, but the SOPs, the policies, the procedures, all the things I talk about to really grow smart and become a successful business person. Well, I could do them, especially with my engineering background. That's not where I get my juice.
Mm.
So I found someone that's really good at that. And then I needed someone to actually lead internally, like how are we going to quickly or more quickly bake cakes, frost cakes, etc. In the cake example, the bakery example. And once I filled those holes, we started accelerating in sales and growth.
That's fabulous. That's fabulous.
But just got to be honest with yourself, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an owner. Well, yeah, you own the business and you're entrepreneurial, but you might not be an entrepreneur. You might be an artist. You might be a leader.
Yeah, that's great. And probably you have a little pieces of all of them.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
You've gotten that far.
I couldn't agree more. But we all have our home. We all have our business home, our emotional home, a place we go to when we're under stress. I like to say stress is just the adult word for scared.
Okay.
Whenever we're scared, we're going to go to our home. We're going to live there. The manager leaders can come up with more SOPs. The artist is going to come up with a new cake design, new flavor. The entrepreneur is going to go open 7 more stores, even though the first 6 aren't performing very well. You can't grow your way out of problems. You just magnify the chaos. So
yeah. Well, and I do feel like there's a lot of schooling and training for different careers and even for artist stuff, but the training probably for people, I feel like I'm entrepreneurial too much, probably too much.
Yeah.
I don't know where I feel like we're piecemealing training on that. In a way, do you feel like that?
Often. Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone wants to start, and let's say they're, and I'm going to see if you coach people who are like, I have a craft and I want to build a business around it?
So I'm going to start with absolutely.
Okay.
Alex Hormozy, I think I heard it from Alex Hormozy, but a lot of people I'm sure said it before him. The riches are in the niches. So
that makes sense to me. Yeah.
So I say my lane is helping entrepreneurs in the franchise space.
Okay.
Properly scale from 1 to 2, or maybe they get to 2 or 3 and they're underwater. So let's get those 2 or 3 fixed and then we'll grow. But I actually find myself, Mary, in actual real life, we all have our dream. This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I actually do. Helping
Yeah.
people, just like you said, they have a craft and they want to grow it. Right now I find myself coaching attorneys and doctors who are starting their own practices. Some people who one of my favorite ones right now, I'm working with a sourdough company out of her house, and just going from zero to like 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000. We have a plan to get her there.
Nice.
Um,
I love that.
yeah.
Well, and I asked that question because it just seems like the way the world is going, and people are, I mean, AI, whatever it might be, that we need to consider anyone who has that ability or that desire to take a thing and grow it into a business is probably it should consider it.
Oh God, I
So
couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I think the disruption in AI is going to give actually a lot of us. It's going to be painful. I think it'll be a very painful disruption, but a lot of us will have the opportunity to go and work for ourselves.
yeah,
And it'll be these micro companies, 1 to 10, 2 to 50 people, that'll provide a local, usually probably a local service or product or process that, because as people, we humans, we all crave connection.
yeah.
All
Oh,
crave
we
it.
all crave connection. Yeah.
Yeah. And AI is not true connection.
No.
Some places we want efficiency. We want to go into a place, order what we want to order, and get out. Amazon's wonderful for that. But there are still boutiques and other stores for men and women that you can go downtown and talk and browse and go with your friends and have that human connection. And you do pay more for it, but you're paying, I don't think necessarily for the clothing. You're paying for the experience.
Yeah.
And I think those micro businesses that won't be so micro in the near future are going to be where the growth happens.
Well, I totally agree. I had this is a funny aside, but I went to California with a friend last Friday, and we had a little time, so we were walking around, a business park, and there's an little Asian market there. And I'm like, I felt like I went to a different part of the world, and the fish smell was overpowering. So all these dried fish that are, but it was overpowering. And like we walked in, we're like, what is that smell? It smelled like 20 wet dogs, but you get a little used to it. And then you start looking around, and it's so interesting. It's just that stuff is, it's very interesting to me. And we both bought some stuff, but I think that's just to your point, the small, and going out. Sometimes I had a time just walking into stores on a Saturday with a friend and like making that your day out.
Yeah.
And you feel like you've left town and done something interesting just by walking into different stores around town. So y'all go do that.
Yeah, and humans are going to want to do that. I don't think that's ever going to go away. We're still tribal. We still love our villages. Even in the big cities, there's neighborhoods. Even in the small cities, there's neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And for every trend, there's a counter trend. You have Amazon or Walmart or Aldi's, very efficient. Get in, get out, get the lowest price. They drop it off at your door, and then you have an Asian market or a farmer's market where you have to talk to 5 different vendors. You have to pay 5 different times. You pay more for what you're getting. It's very inefficient. You could get it done by ordering it online in about 7 minutes, but you spend an hour and a half. And you take great joy in that. So the trend might be doing it faster, doing it cheaper, but the counter trend is the Asian market and the farmer's market, because we still crave that.
Yeah. And that's, we've seen that trend. Like, for example, with even like music industry, I lived in Nashville for a long time. So, when some of the income source went away, everyone just went back to touring. And so now you're back to playing live again. And that's what we want anyway, I think.
Exactly.
Some of those trends. So I've been wanting to have someone on who knows stuff about franchises and buying franchises and growing franchises. So why would someone, if they're not, if they're looking at, I need to find another way to make money, why would someone choose a franchise?
Well, I could tell you why I chose one originally. And that was, I jokingly say I wanted a business with training wheels.
Yeah.
And that's someone else has figured out a product that works, that people want. and a process. That's what you're buying, is the franchise system, the process to deliver that product to the market, whether it's a bundt cake or an exercise idea or a sandwich shop, or, I mean, there's tens of thousands of franchises out there. So you're buying the process, which really helps. Now, is that the whole thing? No, I think a lot of us get into a franchise and realize we don't understand HR and legal and a bunch of other things, but we don't have to spend time figuring out the market and the product and the marketing necessarily if we go with the right franchise. So I think that's a huge benefit to getting into a franchise to start out.
Yeah. And my understanding of a franchise, I did have on the podcast one franchise owner, Michael Hadaway with Game Day Men's Health. He was on. So that's a franchise owner that I've had on, and I've asked a couple others to come on too, because I do think it's a pretty cool thing, when you got the logo's done, the sign is done, the layout's done, you kind of you know what's going to happen. It's the branding, all that kind of stuff is done. And my understanding is you pay a fee to start it, and then you pay some monthly fees because of that. Is that? And so there's an investment. What I'm saying is you need to have the investment money to start one.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of different levels to get into them. Some of them are a few $1,000s for your franchise license.
Wow.
Some of them are a few $100,000 for your franchise license. So it depends on the franchise. And then some of them, the build out costs, if it's a brick and mortar, can range from, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to a couple of million or more dollars, depending what type of franchise you're getting into. But the SBA is a wonderful thing, the Small Business Administration. And if you have about 10% or could raise 10% of that overall cost, sometimes 20, it depends on the loan. There's different loans with the SBA. I'm not an SBA expert, although I have used them successfully. You can get yourself into a franchise. You don't need to have the full amount of money. Matter of fact, a mistake I made on my first one is I 100% self-financed it. And I took all of the money out of my savings and out of my retirement. And I said, I'm gonna blow this up. And okay, I did. I exited that and I made some money. If I would have left that money in retirement accounts over that 10-year period and simultaneously grew the franchise using an SBA loan, I essentially would have doubled my money over that time. That was some bad investment advice I had early on. So I just want to throw that out there, that I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but you should look at it real close before you decide. Because I have an aversion to debt. But I realized in business debt and personal debt aren't necessarily the same thing.
Yeah. I had I keep mentioning people I've had on, but Al Zenick was with Cake Club app. He was another one, but that was a mindset shift for me too, because he was talking about debt being okay. So his whole thing is cash flow. So they have the cash flow.
Right.
And I think this is what you're saying is like, but the thing that really stuck with me I feel like what you're saying, and I'm like, is people that have no debt, but no cash flow are very vulnerable.
Very, very, very much so. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a personal story around that not early on, a few years in. I finally had some money in the bank. Like, I've been working for years and we've been killing it. I brought Nothing Bundt Cakes to Wisconsin, and we opened several years ahead of where we should have for sales because of boots on the ground marketing and getting the word out there. Like, no one knew who we were, but we showed them who we were, and the community embraced us, and that was a beautiful thing. And I finally had some money in the bank, and I'm like, man, I've always been convertible. Okay, I'm not going to go buy a Porsche, as much as I'm a guy of a certain age. Maybe that's what I want. But I was at the dealership looking for a Jeep, and also a guy of a certain age. I know I'm falling into all the bad stereotypes. But they didn't have what I was looking for. And they had this little tiny Fiat Spider sitting in the corner. And I'm like, oh, if I fit in that, I'm going to buy it. And I did. I had this much room to spare between the head and the, when the top was up.
Yeah.
And I bought it and I was feeling really good. Like this is like my I made it car, all 95 horsepower, 4-cylinder sports car. Yeah. Anyway, and then a few weeks later, some rather large bills came due at the same time that payroll was due, and there went all the money in the bank account and then some. And I'm like, oh crap! I was spending profits. I wasn't spending cash flow.
Oh,
Um, and that was a real eye opener for me on the real difference between profits and cash flow. Like you can't spend profits. You can only spend the cash. So the money
so
might have been sitting in the bank, but it wasn't mine to spend yet.
gotcha. How do you know when it's a profit and when it's a cash flow as a business owner?
Yeah, I do a rolling 12-week spreadsheet now. And
Okay.
it shows me, because there's some expenses only happen quarterly or annually, etc. And the annual ones I kind of break down into chunks and I put them quarterly or monthly or whatever so that they're budgeted for. And money left over at the end of that, plus any capex that I know I need to spend. Like, do I need a new delivery van? Do I need a new mixer? Do I need a new whatever? Then you could potentially take that out as profit, not as profit, as cash. Pardon me.
Okay.
The other thing is you look on your balance sheet and you're like, or your profit and loss statement, and you say, "Wow, look at this! Last year I made $100,000. Woohoo!" But you haven't collected it yet. Your terms were net 90 or net 120, and your customers haven't paid you. You don't actually have the cash in the bank. You can't go spend that. You can't go to the restaurant and say, "Look, I'll just pay you off of this money right here. It'll be fine," right? You have to actually have the cash. So that I implemented that rolling cash flow sheet right after that the fiat incident, as I call it, and never had a problem again. My whole business life is me making mistakes that I should know better, and then surviving them somehow. And then that's what I'm trying to teach and coach people on now is don't do as I say, not as I did.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes back to, I don't know that there's great entrepreneurial training out there. So, but but what you're saying does sound like an entrepreneur versus a money manager, a manager,
Right.
um,
Yeah, totally.
because the manager, if they're listening right now, would be rolling their eyes. So if you're rolling your eyes right now, then you know what role you are.
So true, Mary. So true. Oh my goodness.
It's so funny. The artist doesn't care about money, and the owner's
No,
like, the
really.
manager handles that.
It's like, oh, I gotta pay the light bill. I'm gonna get kicked out. What? I don't understand. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me, so Mike has MikeDeJong.com. You have this book for a free download,
Absolutely
and
free PDF download. Yep.
this whole thing is a little new. So you're starting the writing. You got a couple books at the editor, and I saw you did a TED Talk.
I hosted a TED Talk. I didn't
You
give a
hosted
TED
a TED
Talk.
Talk. Okay.
Yeah, I hosted. I had 13 great speakers from around the country and really around the world. A couple of them showed up in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. It's a nice little, maybe not so little, 15,000 people between Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin. Beautiful lake country, a lot of history there. It dates back to the 1800s. The
Mm-hmm.
railroad barons and stuff used to go there on vacation. But we had them show up at the most Wisconsin location you could think of, a brewery. And we
I was gonna say, or a cheese making factory.
that would have been the second most Wisconsin, I think, thing that you could do. Or maybe the first. It depends who you're talking
Right.
to.
Right.
And we had a great day of just expanding ideas. It just I think all of us were kind of, myself included, were familiar with TED and TEDx. And TED's like the big show they do once a year. I think this year it's in Vancouver, where they bring in the heavy hitter, big thinkers. And TEDx is a local community-based idea incubators. And they're managed in the community. They're organized in the community. they're centered around the community. And I got to participate in one. A friend of mine was giving a TEDx talk in Johannesburg, South Africa, at the University of South Africa. And I went and I saw the whole thing happen. I'm like, oh my God, I need to bring that to my hometown. This is just amazing. And then I did nothing for 2 years, like most people do who have great ideas. And then I implemented with some help from friends in the community, and we put that on, and it was a heck of a show. We just got our license two days ago to do it again in 2026. So if anyone wants to come to Oconomowoc, Wisconsin this fall, date to be determined. We're going to have another wonderful group of 13 to 20 speakers.
Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. We were talking before we started that I had lived in Wisconsin for a while, long time ago. Stoughton, which is not far away, also Madison.
Yeah.
So got that Wisconsin connection. But you have stores all over the place. So like that's not like necessarily your base right now.
Right. That's right. Freedom looks different for all of us. Freedom could be, for me, it was infinite travel, and I'm living that. I've been a digital nomad for 3 or 4 months now. Prior to that, I spent a couple years in Virginia, and my stores were in Wisconsin and Washington State. And prior to that, most of my time in Wisconsin, a few little diversions here or there, but I kept coming back to Wisconsin because of family and friends and children and all the reasons. But freedom could be, I always want to be there when my kids get home from school. Freedom could be, I want this type of car. Freedom could be, I want to go take a year off and take a sailboat around the world. Like whatever freedom looks like to you. I think a lot of us become entrepreneurs because we want freedom.
Yeah. We
become business owners because we want freedom. And then many people realize they traded their 40-hour-a-week job for 80 to 100 hours a week, and all the stress and all the bills and less freedom, because they're working as an operator and need to transition to that owner mindset. And then you could have whatever freedom looks like to you for yourself.
Yeah. So I know you mentioned that the first thing you got to do is hire someone who's not like you in one of those buckets. But what else is there? There must be more to kind of make that transition.
Sure. It's constant. Okay. So it's even before you hire the person. You said, Mary, we all have a little bit of all three of those: the artist, the manager, leader, and the entrepreneur in us. So even though you might hate it, you could build an SOP or two. And SOPs don't have to be these long, drawn out, typed out forms. I often say if something has 3 steps or you do it more than 3 times in a year, you need an SOP. Okay. So what's an SOP look like? It could be as simple as using Loom or Descript or your phone and just holding up and recording yourself doing something. And you don't even have to be formal. You're not doing this for a YouTube audience. You're doing it for yourself or your people. It's like, okay, and then I type this, and then I click here, and then I walk over here and do this other thing. And then if this happens, I do this. And if that happens, I do that. And then you hand that off, just that recording, just to whoever you want to do that task next time. And you say, hey, try this out. And if you get stuck, come and tell me. And if I miss something, like you figure it out, like, oh, I got to do this step in between. Don't just leave that, don't just know that you know to do that step, because you might hand this off to someone someday. Let's put that in. 2 to 3, maybe 4 iterations of that, and you're done. So you just take a task you're doing already and just record yourself doing it. Don't sit down and, oh, I gotta write SOPs today. Oh my God, I gotta. Step 1, making a sandwich is the classic one, right? Okay, well, you take a piece of bread, you put some butter on it, and maybe a piece of meat, and you got a sandwich. It's got to be. You don't have to write out, go buy bread, drive home, put bread in bread box, take bread out of bread box, open tab, take piece out of plastic. Like the granularity you need in your SOP depends on the business that you're in. I've gone too far in some directions and not far enough in the other. And a recent example is as simple as the bathroom wasn't getting cleaned properly. So we wrote an SOP on how to clean the bathroom. And one of the things in the SOP was someone left the water running all night. They turned it on, cleaned the sink, and left it on. So we said, okay, we'll add a line, turn water off. You wouldn't think you need to do that, but we did. the next day the staff came in and there was no water in the bathroom. And they couldn't figure out what was going on. So, if you can't wash your hands, you can't make cakes. So we're shut down, called the plumber, and the water underneath the sink was turned off, not at the faucet.
I saw that coming.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I didn't at the moment. I should have.
I mean, I didn't, when you write that in there, yeah, you wouldn't know, but like.
So then I had this.
You set it up like it was a good joke is what you did, but
yeah.
Wow.
It was an expensive joke. So then I thought a little bit about that. I'm like, do I say only turn off water on faucet, or maybe I just need someone with a base level of understanding. Like I need a little bit higher quality. So it depends on your workforce, who you have working for you. Like if I were to say, Mary, I need a podcast on this, you'd be like, all right. Because you've lived in that space, you understand how to produce a podcast and interview guests, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
If you're to say, Mike, I need a podcast on this, I'd be like, okay, I could probably figure it out. I got to find a podcast hosting platform, and I could probably find some guests from some people I know, and maybe I'll use ChatGPT to get some questions. You ask someone on the street who's never really listened to podcasts, watch them, et cetera, like, go do this podcast, and it's like they would need step-by-step directions on how to do it. So you have to like build your SOPs for your actual person doing the job. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm only doing this because my friend Erica in Atlanta is the producer, and she just said, this is how you do it. And she keeps it running. So sometimes you need a team, you know what I mean? So
yeah. Every solopreneur actually needs a team. That's so true.
Everyone, yeah. I don't know any artist, and I'm an actor too and stuff. Like I don't know any artists that even have any idea why they would want to do an SOP or what it is, what it stands for, what the point is.
Standard operating procedure. Maybe I shouldn't talk in acronyms. It's a good point. Yeah, you're right though, because why? You just go and do this thing and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you have this wonderful result.
Yeah. I've always wanted to just kind of take entrepreneurs and go, this is how you make money at this. This is how you take this and make your own money on it. And it's tough. It's so tough. It's so tough. I mean, it's tough to get that mindset from artist to owner, to take it and so that you're making your own money from your craft.
Well, and the epiphany for me in that area is money for a lot of people, especially artists, is not their driving focus.
No, but
they really like
what everyone needs. But yeah,
we all need it so we can keep the lights on and food in our bellies, and et cetera, et cetera. And there should be a base level. So maybe we just need to come at them a different way and say, all right, it's not so you can make money from your craft, but how about you could expand your craft or bring your craft to more people, or spread your message more to the world, or have more and interesting things to do crafts with, because you can get that cooler piece of equipment, or you have to come to them where they're at, not just like, you need to make more money at this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just involving, and like I know you were saying, like you've taken on lawyers and doctors and stuff, and these are all like everyone has different languages that they're good at, that they've been trained at, and so then to add in the layers of business on top of that is usually not a thing they have any training in. They have a training in there, what they've been trained in being a lawyer, being a doctor, being a musician, actor, whatever, dancer. That there's all this training for stuff like that. Being a counselor. There's not training then added on top of that of, now this is how you take this and make your money at it. Which of course, as a franchise, some of these things are already laid out. So,
right. And I'm constantly surprised at how many people are in a franchise system and then don't use the franchise system.
They're like, what do you mean? Like, what do they do instead?
So in the cake world, the best way to get people to eat your cake is to give them samples of your cake. And I've worked with franchisees in the system. They're like, well, I'm not giving away free stuff and it doesn't work and people don't know my market. And here's a suit. I live in a super fitness area. No one eats cake here. And I mean, all the excuses. And I'm like, all right, well, let's just go try it for a minute. Let's just go out and try it. Whatever it is, whether it's cake or extra, whatever the thing is that the franchise says to do, let's just go try it. Yeah, I know they're stupid and they're wrong and they don't know what they're talking about. Let's just go try it so we could prove it that they're wrong. And then it works, because that's how they built their successful franchise system. And it's because it goes against what you were saying, Mary. We don't have training in that. We're uncomfortable in it. You know, maybe you need to be an entrepreneur to want to go out and do marketing. And an artist doesn't necessarily want to do that. So they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So they don't do it. Just as a for example. I could go on forever on examples.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the level of this is tough. I just want to empower people. Anyone who goes, I have something I think I would like to bring to the world. There's probably some kind of business model that needs to be implemented to do that. And nothing about it is easy. So not saying it is, but it's possible because people do it. So
and the first step is just doing it, overcoming that fear.
Yeah.
I have one of my mentors, Jay Morrison, recently retired U.S. Navy SEAL. He's one of the mindset trainers that I have, and he said this thing to me last October, November, and it really it kicked me in the gut. And I like to share it with everyone. And Jay said I can.
Okay.
And it's, everyone says they want something, but they want nothing more. I want to go take my whatever to the world, but I'm more comfortable sitting here watching Netflix or watching YouTube videos on how to take something to the world instead of taking that first step, that first uncomfortable step where I might fail and people might see me fail. And then if I'm seen as that I failed, they're going to think I'm a failure. And if I'm not a failure, then I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, I won't be loved. And if I'm not loved, why am I here? Oh my God. And that's the stream that it always comes down to. I think why a lot of us, myself included, there's things I don't want to do. And if I'm cleaning my desk, I realize, oh, I'm about to do something that I don't know how to do. Therefore, I'm stressed or scared to do it.
Cleaning your desk.
Therefore, I must go do it.
Oh my gosh, that's so real. Yeah, no, there's for sure. And also I think everyone deals with two things. And I talked about this, of course, with another podcast guest, Dan Rashawn, but we don't feel that we are enough.
Yeah.
Or we don't feel like we're lovable. We're either not enough or we're not lovable. We're not capable. We got, and it's just as humans, I think we have those same voices in our head. And I like to say that because I think if everyone knows we all have the same voices telling us we can't do stuff, then we understand this is a human condition, and you're not alone. We all hear these voices.
No, and they all come from stories we tell ourselves, usually from, I'm going to air quote this because I hate it, but trauma that happened in our childhood. That trauma might be someone pushed you in the playground once. It could be anything. We make up stories because there's facts. The facts are what happened. The story is what we make up around the facts. Right. We experience the facts, but we live the stories. The I'm not good enough. The I can't get this done. And if we realize our natural state is actually joy, we are all born joyful. I think we're all born happy. Okay, yeah, we come out crying, but that's because there was a change of environment. Went from warm and cozy to cold and what the heck's going on. But right after that, we're pretty joyful. And if we could remember that, we could write our own stories. And I know it sounds like, oh yeah, super simple, but it takes practice. One I keep practicing at is when I get cut off on the freeway. Like most of us would be like, oh, you crazy, fill in the blank, censored, cut me off, dangerous, etc. What's so important about where you need to be? And I've been training myself to say, oh my goodness, make it to the hospital on time so you could be there when your loved one passes. Because if
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
story, that changes your whole mindset about how you feel about that incident.
Yeah, true.
Or
True.
if someone tells you something negative, well, one, do you really care what that person thinks? All of us seem to care what everyone thinks, and maybe we shouldn't.
Sure.
And two, is there some feedback in there? Are they telling me something I really should work on? And three, how can I learn from this? As opposed to like, I'm not fill in the blank, you're wrong, fill in the blank. It's all through our lens. The fact is, they said it. The story is how we feel about it.
Right.
So change how you feel about it. I know, sounds simple, but you just have to practice. We all have to practice. The best in the world all have to practice.
Right. Well, and this is, I'm gonna say, I usually don't like going and reference other, I think I might start though, because like when people start saying the same thing, wise people start saying the same thing, I'm like, there's something to this that we're not doing. We're talking about it. We're not doing it, but this is a Dan Rochon. He said, which is, it's not, that podcast's not even out yet. It's about to come out. It'll be out by the time yours comes out. But in between your first thought, which is, I suck, I'm not good enough, to your second thought is where you make you change that to,
Yes.
That didn't work out, but I'm on a learning curve. Just because they think this doesn't make it true, that, whatever it is, but you make the decision between the first thought and the second thought to go, I'm going to stop doing that. Yeah.
And some of it's just
and Lori Rogers, she said she was saying the same thing. So these are recent guests I've had on. So that seems to be where we need to be.
The consensus
is in there,
rules.
is in here.
And some of it is absolutely based in biology. There's a fraction of a second before we have a conscious thought that our subconscious says duck if a ball's coming our way. Our brains are wired for survival first.
Sure.
So it's just the retraining. Like if we'll go back to the getting cut off in traffic, if your brain is wired like that person tried to kill me, I need to duck, you're always going to come up with the angry reaction. But over time, if you still have I got cut off, I'm about to die, but you've trained that other piece. So you really have to overcome the biology. That's why it's so hard, because we're wired for preservation.
Sure. And I think we're just also like, we're looking for evidence of both. So let's say we're lovable. You'll look for evidence that you're lovable by how people who should love you treat you, which they don't all treat you well. And then you can look for evidence that you're lovable by people who do treat you well. And, like I'm lovable, or that you give love.
Yes.
Like, are you someone who gives love to people? Do you give them kindness? Do you give them consideration? Do you give them second chances when they deserve it? Do you know what I mean? Do you put good out? You're lovable. So
right. Well, and the spin that question back a little bit though, Mary, is you accept love usually in the same way that you give it.
Sure.
So someone could love you and be lovable towards you, and you don't recognize it as such, and you think, why is that person doing this? Yeah. And you could be giving love to someone not in a way that they know how to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they think badly of you. I know, I just blew people's minds. Like, crap, I just want to be lovable. How come I have to keep the example there is, anyone that has more than one child, right? Sometimes even just one, you usually have one that's kind of like you, and one or two or three that aren't. And which one's the easy one? The one that's kind of like you. And which one's the harder ones? The ones that not. So
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that child. They just accept love or have different ideas about what that looks like. Yeah.
And sometimes a child who is different than you just doesn't feel lovable because they're different than you, versus the fact that it's great that you're different. This is how you're supposed to be.
Exactly. Yes.
So
it's and I all be the same. Oh, how boring would that be?
Yeah. But I think, and what I am hearing you say too, it's not just on this topic, but like there's we're made differently. Like, you said that the three different things you got to find for your business: the artist, the manager, and the owner. And there's different learning styles. There's different ways of communicating so people hear it. I just took a little test that talked about, are you a visual learner, auditory, kinesthetic, or, oh, and there's another one, but one is global. Do you just, do you
Yeah.
read it? Do you have to write it? Do you have to touch it? Do you have to hear it? And then some people like, I'm a global. I kind of do all of them. But like we operate differently and we hear things differently. So, and I mean, just if that was a question, like, how do you think that plays into being a business owner or franchise owner?
Yeah, that's the whole way we communicate, right? So that took me years to learn, and I'm still practicing on how to communicate in people the way people want. And I actually started a couple years ago asking them, basically, do you prefer a video? Do you want it written down? Do you want me just to tell you? Do you need all of the above? Short stuff, you're just going to blurb it out and people just will adapt. But for longer form training, you got to give it to them in the way they want it. And you have to ask them. Sometimes they don't know. So then give it to them in all three and ask them, or three. I know the one you're talking about. Well, the way I do it is I'll write it down, I'll tell them, or I'll have a video. So which one of those works for you? If there's another way, I'm missing it, and I have some growth opportunity there. But at the same
the other
time,
one is just making it. Like go make the cake. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just doing it. But they usually need a little bit of direction before you just go do something. Not always.
Right. For sure.
Not always. There's interesting studies when you have children perform a task with like a certain basic materials versus you have leadership teams in a business perform a task. The results are dramatically different because you don't have all these conceived notions things supposed to go. That I just find fascinating when I look at those. And you could teach people. There's games we could use. Maybe you've been through some of them. You give people a bunch of long pencils or pretzels or something, and you have them sit back to back, and you make a shape. One person makes a shape out of the pretzels, and the other person has them all rough, and the person who made the shape has to give directions to the person that can't see how to turn that into that shape into their pretzels. Like take one pretzel and stick another one at a 90-degree angle, up and down, left and right, and then do this other thing and do this other task, and you should have the shape. Yep. And then they compare the shapes, and they rarely look like the same thing because the communication is just not there.
Yeah. It's hard to communicate.
And it's just a good eye opener for people to understand that that's something we all talk about. I've been hearing that my entire adult life. Communication is key. Relationships, business, friendships, communication. But what does that look like? Yeah,
for sure. Well, and usually as a leader, you communicate naturally in the style that you like to learn from. So just like everything else, I think that part of leadership is just because that's you doesn't mean that's everyone else, and doesn't mean they're stupid if they don't have the same style as you.
They don't have the same style, or they have a different level of training or understanding in an area.
Yeah. But for sure, we can say they don't want to be yelled at. So
I had a recent incident. I had a manager. I wanted her to go do something, and she's like, "Yep." And then it never got done. And dialing in, it came down to she had no idea where to start.
Oh.
Versus a different manager I gave the same task to in a different location, completed it because there were just different levels. Or motivators. This part is part of communication. I think many of us fall into the trap of we're going to give a bonus. Here's some cash. Whether it's micro, we hit our daily goal, everyone gets free lunch or $5 or quarterly or monthly or whatever. You make so many sales. There's a lot. There's as many bonus programs as there are like probably atoms in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But that might not be the motivator. I had one manager that's worked for me for about 9 years. Her motivator is she wants Thursday afternoons off to go work at an animal shelter.
Okay.
And if she could have her Thursday afternoons off to go work at her animal shelter, that fills her up, and she'll kill herself at working for me, which I'm always like, slow down. You please, just take a minute. It's just one of those people. But money had no motivation for her. past a base level that she needed to survive, she really didn't care at all about it,
Mm-hmm.
like at all. Other ones were towards their favorite charity, or maybe it was time off. Like, I just want to have a day off whenever I want. It could be any day of the week at any time with no notice. That's what I want as my bonus. If I just need it, I just want it. And I give people from like almost day one a certain amount of days off because I think we just need that as humans. But
Right.
I know you can't always in a small business. It's very disruptive. But for certain people, that's what they needed. Okay, that's your motive. That's your bonus. Here's your ticket for a free day off. It's just communicating with them and finding out what their motivators are.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and you have so much wisdom, just lived experience and the stuff you've built, and the mistakes are part of the learning and part of the wisdom.
Yeah.
So, uh, so you coach people, and you're writing some books and do keynotes now also along with the businesses. So if someone wants to work with you and get coaching, and it sounds like coaching to start or coaching to take the franchise and stop being an operator and more of an owner, like how do they reach you to do that?
Sure. Just MikeDeJong.com. It's DEJONG. Not everyone can spell my last name, I realized.
Yeah.
There's a form on there. Just contact Mike. It's not a sales call. I want to be very clear, Mary, for you and your listeners, that when I have that first conversation with you, I'm literally just trying to help you. And I got all sorts of resources like the book that are absolutely free. My mission in life is twofold. Is I want to help the entrepreneurs to not make all the mistakes I did, so they can transition from being an operator to an actual pure owner, whatever that looks like for them, to have the freedom and whatever that looks like for them.
Yeah.
In my secondary mission, like where I like to spend my time and money now, is putting homeless people in houses.
Oh,
So spend some time there to just starting out in that. So I don't have a lot of wisdom there, but my brother, my brother's a world-renowned expert on it. So I've been tapping
oh,
into
really?
his knowledge. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, you have someone to lean into to make it happen. So
Yeah. He wore me out over the years with his actual practical knowledge, as opposed to all the myths we think we know about homelessness.
yeah. Well, and I'm in Reno, Nevada right now, and it's I feel like we have a huge homeless population, and I think maybe we're getting some from California too. But my son, who's here, has been very much involved with that. So a lot of great nonprofits collaborating here that are, and government, nonprofits, government. There's just so much collaboration. So,
That's
but
that's
it's very complex. It's complex, and
Yeah. But it is and it isn't. At the end of the day, everyone needs a home, somewhere to live, someone to love, and something to do.
yeah.
As all humans, that's what we need. Whether you're in Reno, uh, previous home to the Reno Air Races, world's fastest motorsport. Used to love coming out to watch those, or Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, or where I'm sitting right now in Galveston, Texas. We're all humans, and that's what we all need.
Yeah. Well, that's very true. We all just humans have obviously just the basic human needs, and we all should have access to those. So for sure.
100%.
Yeah. So Mike, you have a couple other books coming out, and eventually this when you have right now it's a free download, and you might get it on Amazon too. So Grow Smart: Your Path to Freedom, Mastering Transformation from Operator to Owner.
That's the one we got out right now.
Okay.
Getting it, and then I have another one, The Freedom Formula. I have to read it myself. How to Fix or Exit Your Franchise for Maximum Profit. The feedback I had in the first book, and even though it's very tactical, it's not a feel-good book, it's a tactical book. People wanted more tactics, more
Okay.
specific examples. So I wrote that. Actually wrote that one on the beaches of Australia, which was a lot of fun last year.
Yeah, that sounds like a great place to write.
It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And then the most recent one is not titled yet, but it's around running a successful fundraiser, because again, a lot of franchisees bring in business through fundraising, through their local or community organizations, and they had no basic understanding on how to do that or why to do that. So I realized I did that very well, so I wrote another book, and that one's with the editor as of 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, that's
and then I
awesome.
got to figure out a name. So if anyone has any suggestions, I'll take those.
That's great. So you got a lot of good things going. And Mike, thanks for sharing your wisdom with that. And if anyone wants to get your book, it's free on your website. So, uh, you know, thanks for giving stuff for free. People need that. I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go download it now. I don't think I realized it was for free when I looked at the website. So
see, I have some opportunities. I still get stuck in engineering brain, not marketing brain. So I have to, fluff things up and let people know what I'm all about. So I'm talking to you today, Mary, because I want to help more people.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Really,
well,
really helping. Yep.
Yeah, and marketing isn't easy either. So there's all these different buckets. It's so tough to understand all of them. But yeah, I've spent the last couple of years in marketing and realizing that marketing means about 1 billion different things.
At 1 billion different times, right?
Yeah. And so people say they're in marketing. I had people, friends go, yeah, I'm in marketing and marketing and branding, and they were doing not anything that I was doing. So we were like, but the nice thing about a franchise is, some of that marketing is already figured out, and some of the branding is already figured out. But
yeah, it really does. It really does help, especially the online portion. I think where a lot of people need help is on the boots on the ground marketing, your local marketing efforts.
Yeah. Right. And like I was doing I'm not doing it right now, but paid marketing. So, how do you get it out with commercials? And I help people make commercials and that kind of thing. So all of that makes a difference,
it does.
making money.
It does.
Everything we talked about to so many different buckets. So, which is why it's nice to have that whole team of smart people around you to manage the things.
But if you don't have that, just start.
Yeah.
Just start. You got an idea? Just go do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And start, I do think also it's like, if you have money, it's easy to just throw money at it without knowing if it's going to work or not. So maybe start small enough to know if you have something that's viable, that's going to work, and make some sales, get some people in and go from that.
Oh, we could go on for an hour about that again too. Yeah, I see too often people spend a lot of time on, these are my brand colors, this is my logo, and they've never sold anything, the product that they want to sell yet. Like, how about you go sell a few things, prove that it works in the market, and then we'll get you some brand colors and a logo.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I made that mistake a little bit too. It's like,
we all have.
First make sure it's making money, and then put more time and effort behind it.
Right.
So you got to make sure it's viable. 100%. And that's tough.
100%.
It's all tough, Mike. It's hard.
It's all simple, but incredibly difficult. I can't remember whose quote this is. I really got to look it up. All business is innovation and marketing.
All business innovation is marketing?
All business is innovation and marketing. It's two things.
Okay.
You got to innovate a new idea, and you got to let people know it exists.
Yeah. That's very simple and very profound. So.
And I wish it was my quote. I stole it, but it's true. I mean, it doesn't matter what business is. All business is, you got to let people, you have to have an idea of what you do, and you got to let people know you're doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
So just go do it. Just go do it.
Yeah.
Especially with the tools
I started this podcast on the, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't have time to do this, and I don't even know how to, I kind of had someone help me start, and then I'm like, well, we're just starting. I know it's not all, I still don't have the website together. I still have Mindy's helping me get that together right now, the podcast sponsor. But, it's like, again, and this was last April we started, so we're going to hit it about a year before we even have a website up.
Oh, Mary, it hurts me. I could build your website, not as good as you're going to get from Mindy, but adequate to start, to prove your concept in about 10 minutes on an app called lovable.dev.
Yeah. Well, and for podcasts, some things you have to have a website to start. And I'm pretty, because I had a website business, so I'm pretty good with understanding websites.
Great.
And actually have helped business owners go, okay, this is not something that I can help you market because it's not there yet. So we need X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Privacy policy. If you don't have a privacy policy on your website, then it's not gonna. No. Google and Bing will just kick it off.
Right. Can't use Stripe if you don't have a privacy policy, and I can't remember what the other policy is, but basically it's how you're going to use their information. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't use Stripe unless you have a website either.
Can't take payments. Yeah.
Payments. I just work with that. I'm
Can't
like,
get paid. Darn it. No one has cash these days. So.
when is the website going to be ready? Because Stripe isn't going to let me take a payment without that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Mary.
All these things. So that's awesome. Mike, thanks for your time. Any parting words for us?
Yes. One, go start. Two, after you start, optimize before you grow. Get yourself out of the operator chair. Make sure you could take a several-week vacation. And if you can and nothing breaks, then you're ready to grow to the next business. Seems like pretty practical advice to me. So, all right, Mike DeJong, and just head to his website. DEJONG is his last name, MikeDeJong.com, and get more info from him. So thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. Thanks, Mary. Great being on. Did you like that? You can watch more episodes here, subscribe over here. We actually have new episodes with awesome guests every Thursday, so check back in. Is that all?